I share the screen?
Or mute myself.
Yeah, that way there's not a bunch of echo.
Yeah.
Refuge in the three jewels. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and of love. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. Dwelling in the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. Dwelling in the refuge of Dharma, I learn to open many doors on the path of transformation. Dwelling in the refuge of Sangha, shining a light that supports me, keeping my practice free from obstruction. Taking refuge in the Buddha and myself, I aspire to help all people fully recognize their own awakened nature, realizing the mind of love. Taking refuge in the Dharma and myself, I aspire to help all people fully master the ways of practice and walk together on the path of liberation. Taking refuge in the Sangha and myself, I aspire to help all people build fourfold communities to embrace all beings and support their transformation. We'll bow 3 times. Offering of flowers. This spread of flowers, fresh hued and fragrant, I offer the sacred lotus feet of the noble sage. With flowers in great variety, the Buddha I adore, and by this merit may I gain release. Even as these flowers must fade, my body too will pass away. Offering of light. With lights brightly shining, dispelling the gloom, I honor the fully awakened, that light of the triple world who dispels the gloom of ignorance. Offering of incense, perfumed with infinite qualities, the Tathagata, fragrant of face and form, I revere with incense, sweet and penetrating. Offering of water. We offer water, symbol of purity, to the Buddhas of all times. May this water both wash away the obscurations of ignorance and sate the thirst of craving and aversion. Bow 3 times. Notes on mindful breathing. Anapanasati is mindfulness on respiration. Ana means inhalation and apana means exhalation. Concentration on the breathing process leads to one-pointness of the mind and ultimately to insight, which enables one to attain liberation, freedom, and perfection. The Buddha practiced concentration on respiration before he attained enlightenment, but this beneficial meditation may be practiced by any person, irrespective of their religious beliefs. We will inhale through the nostrils normally, without strain, without force. While doing so, the mind may wander, but one should not be discouraged. When a wandering thought is detected, label it as thinking and return to the breath. All right. So we can do about a 5-minute meditation. Does that sound good?
Sounds like maybe 10 minutes would be good.
10 minutes?
I'll be honest there.
All right. I don't
Hey,
have my little time.
When you ring the bell, will you let it ring? What happened to it?
I'm not stopping it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's this little bell. It's not the big one.
Oh, okay.
And it's also sitting in this holder, which keeps it from reverberating for long periods of time.
Okay.
All right, we will.
If you don't want to do 10, we don't have to do 10.
That's fine. I don't have my timer, but we can just go as long as we want to. Okay?
Okay. I'm going to mute myself.
Good morning, Charles.
Hello, Sasha.
How's it going?
I'm pretty good. I'm like at 9:50. So
9:50.
how are you guys doing?
Doing all right. Where's Felix?
Sitting on the couch.
Oh yeah, chilling.
Mm-hmm.
The off today?
Yes, finally. He's off on a weekend.
Oh, good.
Yeah. We're gonna have a little party for my mom today at the pool because my mom got her bachelor's degree.
She got her bachelor's degree?
Yeah.
Really?
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. Where has she been going to school?
She's been going to school online. I don't remember the school, but she finally finished. She's been going for like 2 years.
Really?
Maybe 3 years, yeah.
Well, good for her.
Yeah, I'm very proud of her.
That's really awesome.
My parents want to say hi.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I want to briefly just touch on, we're talking about Buddha and the tarot cards. And I think it's really interesting. I was talking to some friends about this, and they thought it was pretty cool. They didn't know that the tarot cards were full of symbolism, or how you could, see the Buddha's life story in the tarot cards. And so I thought we could touch on some of those themes today. We don't have to go very long. Does that sound good? Charlie, do you remember anything about what we talked about last week when we talked about the Fool? Some of the things, the symbolism of the Fool?
Yeah, I remember that everybody, like, he has a bad name, the Fool, but actually he's very free. I think I used the word freedom. And that he's just going on a journey living his life, and he's very confident in himself. That's why he's looking up at the sky. He's got the world in his hands, the flower. He's got his cute little dog with him, his companion. And he's dressed really fancy. And that there's a whole journey. And you have to go through a breakthrough, but you have helpers.
Set out on the hero's journey. You're kind of naive. When you're young, you don't know what the world has for you. Probably if you did, you wouldn't go. So there's some naivete that is important in youth. Sometimes you think you can conquer the world, and so you set out. And that's important to have that kind of delusion, to think that you can do anything and make it through anything and go anywhere, or you would never set forth on your journey, right?
Right.
And then, according to the hero story, there's a little white dog there that's his helper, And as long as we step out in faith and courage, the universe will send helpers in the exact time we need them, with a word of advice or a job, or, there's all kind of mysterious stories like that, especially with Ram Dass and in the 60s, like finding your guru in unexpected ways, miraculous ways. It's in all walks of life. As long as you're doing your part and you keep moving forward, doing the next right thing, miracles happen, doors open unexpectedly, And it looks like this fool's going to step off the cliff, but in reality, we don't know. Maybe he'll turn into a bird and fly. Maybe there's a cliff right below that. Maybe he's going to do a cannonball into a great lake. Maybe it's going to be
A fountain of youth.
Yeah. Maybe he's going to do a backflip and then get on his tube and tube the San Marcos River with his buddies and drink a few beers. Have the time of his life, right? So, and I like how you say that the fool, when you read that, you think we always associate the fool as being something negative. But sometimes wisdom, the wisdom of the world, foolishness. We talked about Buddha, when Buddha left home with nothing. He renounced his kingdom. He could have been a king. He renounced everything. He became a beggar in the streets seeking enlightenment. And to his dad and his king, the whole kingdom thought he was an idiot. Here is this heir to the throne. Here's this rich young boy that could do anything. And he chose enlightenment. He chose leaving home with nothing but the clothes on his back to all the wealth and all the privilege and everything. So he set out like a fool. But in reality, that was great wisdom, because he knew. Well, you tell me, what do you think? Why would he see that seeking enlightenment might, in the long run, be more important than becoming a king? Anyone?
Well, if you reach enlightenment, then you're done on your transformation, aren't you? You don't have to return. So I think it's smart that he was seeking to find the best of the best mindset, and then he could hop off this journey and just help others. I think him becoming the Buddha was way more helpful than him being a king.
Good insight, absolutely. And for all he knows, he could have lived 1,000 lifetimes as a king, but it didn't solve any of his suffering. He still had to come back to this life and live it again and again and again. So stepping off of that and seeking liberation it looked like foolishness, but it was actually wisdom. Diane, were you going to say something? No?
No.
Okay. So the hero starts out their journey, and can you see this? The magician? No? Okay, hold on. Let me... All right, now do you see the magician?
Yes.
Okay. So according to the hero's journey, we start off in life in ignorance, and we just step out in faith to see where the universe is going to take us. It's all about leaving home. Joseph Campbell says in all the hero stories, and because of Joseph Campbell's work as a mythologist, we understand now that all the great myths, all the great movies, all the great books, all the great video games are all based on this hero's journey. And the hero's journey is based on the archetypes of life, our lives. Our lives start by breaking away from our parents, leaving home, and going out there and getting knocked down, beat up. There's victories and there's defeats, and there's good times and there's bad times, and there's learning and there's helping others and there's being helped, and all of this is a part of what it means to be on this planet. And Joseph Campbell called that the hero's journey. That's why there is no good story or no good video game without some kind of drama. It's not a very good video game if there's no dragons to slay or no monsters trying to kill you or anything, I don't know of any video games where the whole thing is just walking through a field picking flowers. There has to be some kind of drama. And so it is with our lives. We don't like being tested. We don't like troubles. We don't like difficulties. But how can we feel the contrast between happiness and sadness if there is no contrast? Does that make any sense?
Yes.
And so the magician symbolizes you've set off on your journey, and now you're a little older, and now you look before you and you say, I have all these talents, I have all these skills, I have all these things. What am I going to do with them? What are some of the things that you see in this card?
He's holding up a wand.
Okay. What could a wand symbolize?
I don't know.
What do you do with the wand?
Magic?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You use a wand for magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the infinity symbol above him means he has infinite wisdom or infinite potential.
Yep.
And I know that star means something, but only you know that answer.
What else do you see?
Well, he's got all of the stuff in front of him, right? Like the cup, the sword, the star, the wand. So the magician has it all.
That's right. Everything that you can find in the tarot is in this one card.
Why is he pointing down?
So he's pointing to heaven, he's pointing to earth.
Oh.
So he has
Technically, the wand is pointing to heaven.
Yeah, he's using the wand to point to heaven and his finger to point to earth. So let me read this real quick. So it says, we begin on our journey into the way of the world. The magician represents the fundamental forces and energies that hold sway over our lives. The magician standing behind a table at dawn. His upraised hand is holding a wand, while his left is shown pointing towards the earth. On the table before him lie the pentacle or the star, the wand, the cup, and the sword, representing all four suits of the tarot and the four elements of earth. The magician is a symbol of power, determination, intention, and action, representing our ability to transform ideas into reality through the act of our will. By his hands extending simultaneously both to the heavens and the earth, as above, so below, it expresses the creative potential to manifest your desires. In the cards of background, we see that it is a new day. It is time for a new expression. It is time for a new creative endeavor. But it takes participation in our never-ending creative energy that drives the universe. The objects on the table and in his hand represents the only materials he has to work magic, the four elements. They also represent earth, fire, air, and water. It has gone from the fool's stick. Remember, the fool had a stick over his shoulder with a bag on it, like his beggar's, like wanderer or traveler's bag. It says now the magician has opened the bag and poured the contents out on the table. And now he's stopped to decide what path does he want to take. How is he going to use his skills and his talents and everything around him to manifest his dreams or her dreams. And my connection to that, when I was reading this, I said, the Buddha left home with nothing, absolutely nothing. And yet the Buddha transformed the whole world. You know, when you think of India now, you think that it's a Hindu nation, and there's a lot of Islam in India. But for at least a good couple of 100 years or so, it was converting almost entirely to Buddhism. So Buddha was from India. And this one man, much like how Jesus transformed the world, Buddha transformed the world. He left home. He left like a fool. He renounced, wealth and prestige and power and everything that his father tried to hand to him. He renounced it all to find his own way in life. And it turned out to be wisdom, because when he obtained enlightenment, Buddha, He literally transformed a whole country to a peaceful way of religion, a peaceful way of interacting with the world. And that religion has spread all over the world now. Now, even in the United States, there's millions of Buddhists, you know. And so this one man has transformed it, and he did it all without a sword or without a gun or without a crusade or without forcing people and hanging people and burning people and killing people. He transformed, you know, people through the power of love.
I wonder what like the crime rate and if they had any wars during those hundreds of years.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. You know, there's a lot of stories of Buddha talking people out of going to war, talking kings out of going to war, and persuading them that nonviolence is the way. And even, you know, you can say that Buddha and his nonviolence has influenced like Martin Luther King and even Gandhi and a lot of great leaders have studied the teachings of Buddhism and chose nonviolence over violence.
Outstanding.
Yeah, and in fact, like whenever you hear the word Buddhism, what jumps to your mind immediately? What's the first thing that pops in your mind when you hear somebody say something about Buddhism?
Peace and tranquility.
Diane, what pops into your mind when you hear Buddhism?
Same thing. Peace, gentleness,
Love.
love.
Yeah, and so from this one man comes all of that, those great feelings that he brought that into the world, those teachings, you know. And yet, they say, you know, like we were talking about before, that he might have lived 1,000 lives as a king and found out that that wasn't helping the world, you know. So as a great bodhisattva, he didn't get it the first time. He didn't get enlightened the first time, you know. It was a long journey of discovering. There's hundreds of stories about Buddha's past lives where he wasn't perfect, and he wasn't the, you know, perfection of peace or the perfection of understanding or the perfection of love, you know. He did some stupid shit like the rest of us. And he failed people, and he failed himself, and he didn't live up to his highest potential, you know. And so that's also something very important about Buddhism, which says, you know, and you know, when I tried to live as a born again Christian, it was like almost every day I had a lustful thought, and I was like, damn it, I screwed up again, you know. I'm not a good Christian. I don't really love God, you know. Or I would have a beer, or I would smoke some weed, or I would do something, look at porno, and I'd be like, how can I, if I say I love Jesus, and if I love Jesus, I wouldn't do these things. I must be a bad person, and God hates me, and all this stuff, you know. Well, you know, in Buddhism, you go back and you look at all these lives that Buddha lived, and he was like, you know, not living up. It took a long, hard journey of many lifetimes to finally get to a place where he had true understanding that love was more powerful, and being able to accept himself. Diane, were you going to say something?
I think that, I mean, my own personal idea of the path to enlightenment is you can't get to it unless you can walk through the path of being human and having human emotions and human thoughts and human struggles, because that's the whole point, right? Because animals don't need this. They're not the ones who are struggling with their mind and trying to find, constantly looking for, I don't know what it is, looking for that they can't name, you know. I mean, there are a few dogs that have, say, anxiety, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, they say only in the
So,
human body can you become enlightened.
right. And so what I mean though is like Buddha, it was like he had to be born with everything to realize that the path to being joyful, and not even joyful, but just satisfied with life, didn't have anything to do with having everything or having money, because that doesn't stop the idea of sickness. Like, that first, when he first finds sickness and death outside of the palace walls in the story, because those affect everybody. You can't outrun them.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. You can only become fully awakened by being fully human. And that's what I always thought was interesting, is I always thought when I became enlightened, I would become above human. I would be above all the stressors and problems of the world. But when you look at Buddha's life, you'll see that nothing really changed. I mean, like when he became enlightened, he still had to eat, he had to drink, he had to interact with people, he had to chop wood and carry water and live out the rest of his life, the next 45 years of his life around people doing normal stuff, everyday stuff, But what was lacking was that anxiety and that depression and that suffering. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like he reached enlightenment because he's able to, let it roll off the duck's back, let the water roll off the duck's back, instead of going with your human emotions and letting it mess up your mental state.
Mm-hmm. They said that Buddha perfected the 10 perfections, which are generosity, morality, wisdom, energy, patience, truth, determination, loving kindness, equanimity. Equanimity is an interesting word. It means that you don't you're not constantly measuring things like one is better than the other. You're not constantly putting things on in a different status. Like judging your life against other people's lives. You don't think that the person living in that big house his life is so much better than yours. You see, everything is equal. There's almost like an understanding that there's a destiny behind all this stuff, and all this stuff is happening exactly the way it's supposed to happen. There's not one thing better than the other in the infinite expanse of time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, that's basically just some of the things that I wanted to discuss today. Is that the fool sets out on the journey kind of naive, not knowing what's going to happen, and you need that naive in order to survive. It's you set off on this journey not knowing that if the dragon's gonna eat you or you're gonna eat the dragon. And yet you get to a point in your life where you have to open your bag and look around and say, I have these skills, I have these talents, I have these things to work with. How am I going to best use them to get to where I want to go?
Mm-hmm.
And that is a magician. What do you want to manifest in your life?
How do you figure out what you want to manifest in your life?
That's a good question. That is a good question.
I think it's just what you want to become or how you want to be. Like, I try to manifest being more peaceful and or being more compassionate instead of, like, jumping ass all the time.
Okay, so like manifesting a behavior.
Yeah, behavior, really.
Okay. Okay. I can do that.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, you can't manifest a house because you have one. You took care of all your children. I think you just manifest behavior at this point.
Yeah.
We can't manifest a house because of what?
We already live in a house. Yeah.
No, you got one.
Oh, no, but we haven't purchased it yet. We're still looking.
Oh, okay. So you can manifest that.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when my dad told me when I wrecked my car, he's like, Charlie, don't ask me for a car, ask the universe. So I will get a car. I will get a car. And guess what? I did get one.
See, I'm always very fearful of manifesting things.
Oh, yeah, because it could be like...
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, what's the opposite? Because you need things to survive, so you have to manifest them.
But
some way. Even if you don't intentionally do it in your mind, you got to go out and purchase things.
no.
So
Yeah, no, I understand that. I just, the idea of manifesting it, doesn't that create a want in us, which we're not supposed to be trying to do?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I think, well, yeah, like you are wanting this stuff. But I think that manifesting is just using our own energy to bring something forth from the universe that's already there. But yeah, you are wanting something.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like a dichotomy there, because the goal is to go with the flow. And yes, okay, so you need a car. Well, how is that going to happen? Like, is by manifesting it, by actually putting that out in the universe, do we consistently put that out in the universe? Or do we, like Kylie, when you write it on the mirror, do you write it on the mirror and then you let it go and let it happen and unfold? Or do you write it on the mirror and then put the work in to find it? I don't know. Like it when I am looking for something, it creates anxiety in me.
I know that by looking at it, I'm bringing it to me. I know, and I trust the universe to bring me my highest good. And so, like, if I write a car on the mirror, I start noticing cars when I'm driving around. I start noticing cars for sale that I never noticed before. I start seeing ads for cars that I never noticed before. And then somebody tells me something that leads me to something to call somebody about something that leads to getting a new car. I set that intention, you know?
Yeah, okay.
And, you know, you can... So, you know, the difference is we live in a material world and we're lay Buddhists, right? We're not full-time Buddhists that can renounce everything and, you know, eliminate all desire and all wants and just walk around and beg for our food. I mean, we could do that or live in a monastery, but if we're going to work and have a house and have a car and have food in the refrigerator, we have to manifest it and go out there and get it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I guess I have to look at the word manifest differently.
I want to show you guys Kayla's birthday present.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, you know what? Let's do the chanting, and then I'll show you guys.
All right.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and close. All right. Ready? Contemplation, the 10 perfecting qualities. May I be generous and helpful.
May I be generous and helpful.
May I be pure, virtuous, and well-disciplined. May I not be selfish. May I be strenuous, energetic, and persevering. May I be patient. May I be able to bear and forbear the wrongs of others. May I be honest and truthful. May I be firm and resolute. May I be kind, compassionate, and friendly. May I be humble, calm, quiet, unruffled, and serene. Discourse on loving kindness. Just as a mother would protect her own child even at her own life's risk, so let everyone cultivate a boundless heart towards all beings. Let our hearts of boundless love pervade the whole world, so that all beings without exception might be happy. Closing dedication of merit. If I have attained any merit by the result of this practice, may it be accredited to all beings everywhere. May they find the source of suffering and extinguish it. May they find the source of happiness and increase it. May all beings dwell in ultimate unalloyed nibbana. Bow to each other 3 times, smiles of gratitude. Final bell.